Hello, and welcome to Keeper's Corner Podcast, where we're breaking down anything and everything Utica City FC related. With your hosts, as always, Matthew Sterling, Michelle Brooks, and Brandon Brooks. Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition, a special Christmas edition of Keeper's Corner Podcast. As always, Matt, Brandon, and Michelle are here, and we are joined once again by our friend, the FC Fanatic, Matt Huber. Say hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Christmas.
Well, that's not creepy.
Okay, that's a great start.
It's almost my birthday.
You know what they say, Michelle? Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
You know?
Did Yogi Berra say that?
No, I don't know who said that, but...
Thought you guys were my friends.
You thought wrong. Anyway.
So for Christmas, so yes, you are my friend. I will say that during the holiday season.
During the holiday season.
Wow. Qualifier.
Up until a certain point, at which time it will be under review.
Oh, so you get a special grace period.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Well, let's say this. We get to meet on happier terms this week, which is why we're kind of joking to open the show instead of just jumping right into things. This past weekend, Utica went 2-0 against Harrisburg with a 5-4 come-from-behind victory at home on Friday night, and then a 9-4 drubbing of the Heat down in Harrisburg on Saturday.
Wait a second. If you listen to the Harrisburg announcer, Utica won 4-3.
Yes. According to the beginning of the game.
No, the whole game.
No, they only announced it once.
No, he said it in the third quarter. You got up in the bathroom.
I zoned out after we got a full realtor ad in the middle of it, so...
Didn't he call us Rochester? Didn't he call us Rochester at one point?
We were called Rochester at one point, yes.
We were called Rochester. He said that we won 4-3.
Yes, we also saw a goal from UB Pavic.
I think my favorite one was Ronald Nino.
With about a 20-second pause.
He was trying, okay? He was doing his best. He admitted he wasn't the main announcer. He wasn't the normal person. Like, cut the person some slack.
Jelovic.
I mean, he did a great William Shatner impression during that.
See, that's why I missed the normal guy, because he sounds like David Koechner, who everyone knows as the whammy guy from Anchorman.
Yes, he does.
I'm sorry. While we're on the subject, I mean, I think it's just personally we're just spoiled because we have Ray Biggs, and I mean he is phenomenal. So I went back and I watched the VOD for the game. The next night, I think, and I mean it just nothing compares. I just think we have a great announce team.
I don't think anything is going to top the chainsaw to a mattress warehouse.
Oh no. My favorite one was, oh God, what did he say?
Diaper in the water cooler.
No, it was Saturday night's game.
Was it the Pikachu electrical fire?
Yes.
Yes.
Shocking, like a faulty Pikachu toaster oven. Like,
I think my favorite one was the lasered, like, cheap hair removal.
Okay, I think we can all admit that we have some very colorful announcing staff, but anyway, another topic for another time.
Okay, but can we mention Philly then in Ontario, who had a bright red 3-piece suit for his at least home opener? I don't know if he wears it every game.
I saw that. That was fantastic.
It is loud. Now I feel like we got to get a bright pink suit for Joey Zanaboni in St. Louis to go.
People wear suits to games, although I don't know if I'm going to now.
No, you were the curse.
Bad juju.
All right, so now that we've taken our little tour around the announcing booths.
Announcing around the league.
Do you guys want to talk about Friday night?
Yeah, let's do that.
Right. All right, Friday. Harrisburg comes in for their first game of the season. Utica 0-2 at this point. We find out Brian Wilkin is in goal. We've added Alan Carventura Jr. back to the roster beforehand. And Utica comes out, looks extremely flat in the first half, like they finished the game against Baltimore.
Oh, absolutely.
Go into the half down 3-1. Come out of the half, go down 4-1, and then score 4 unanswered to take a 5-4 victory home. Just a fantastic night from Wilkin in goal, an .826 save percentage, just edging out Willie B with an .808 save percentage. So just fantastic night defensively on both ends.
Yeah, not to, definitely can't discredit Willie B there. He had a fantastic game. He really played his butt off in goal there. And, but Brian Wilkin, he proved why we have him as a keeper. I saw so many just amazing saves from him, between the one where he's basically sitting on the ground and blocks it 3 times in a row, or I think he had 2 one-on-ones.
Punches it out of the air.
That he just, we didn't have, if he hadn't taken out those 2 one-on-ones, it would have been, probably a much different game.
And then Slav kicked him in the butt.
He did kick him in the butt, yes.
True story. I had to watch that a few times to be like, was he trying to kick the ball? No, he's trying to kick his butt. Okay.
Yep. Had a good chuckle about that. But no, it was definitely a very tough first half. And I kind of feel like going into the second half, getting that one score at the end of the second quarter, and then going into the second half, really the crowd seemed to start getting energized, and really just honestly, it just felt like the crowd was desperate. I know, I between the 2 games over the weekend, even though one was away, I pretty much lost my voice for I still am getting it back. I was screaming, hoping to just pleading for the guys to do something, and they kept delivering. Well, I'll tell my I guess stat later. But anyway,
yeah,
it was just a great game, great weekend.
I guess to address the first game a little further, since it was such a change of play from the first half to the second half, what is everyone's play that changed the game?
Good question. So I was actually in the car trying to figure that out. And so my play was reckless strike penalty on Michael Cunningham from Harrisburg. Third quarter. Set Utica up on a power play, and Christian Segura going top shelf to make it 4-2. I think that was the turning point of that game. It kind of, speaking of the game in particular, it kind of reminded me of the game against Baltimore. Exactly. Yeah. So it was where Utica came out Utica came out, played okay in the first half, and then the second half they just made a lot of mistakes and led to a load of goals for Baltimore. This one was on the other end, the good end. But yeah, I think the play for me was that tripping penalty or reckless strike penalty.
I don't. Which one do you have? Because they're 2 different ones. You got the. Do you want the one that's the 4-2 or the 4-3 change?
4-2. I'm
okay.
Taking the 4-2, and I kind of at that point I knew that this game was turning in our favor, and then we all know what happened. So that's my play.
Yeah, that was the boarding against Cunningham. That, I'll be honest, watching that was a pretty iffy kind of generous boarding call because he hits the turf and rolls into the boards. And we've seen harder fouls against the boards this year that are just common fouls.
Yep.
Right. But I mean, it was called in our favor, and they took advantage of it.
Yes, I mean, that's what we have to do. We have to take advantage. We've talked about it on the other ones, but take advantage of the opportunities. And other teams had been, we hadn't. But for the sake of fairness, I want to say there that we've been pretty critical of the officials when the calls have gone the other way. I think we still need to be critical of them, even if they benefit us, because what we want is consistency.
Yeah,
true story.
I mean, I'm not going to say that some of the stuff that we got penalties for us. I'm not going to say that so there wasn't a little bit of embellishment. I could see it. We all, people, those of us watching, we could see that there was a little bit of embellishment. But, any team's going to do that, to try and swing things in their favor, especially when you're, down 4-1. You're definitely going to try and do what you can. And they did. They didn't just, flop and just let it ride. They started, doing what they had to do, and any team's going to do that.
Whose turn?
Whoever. I mean, I can go. You guys can go. Does not matter.
I'm going to go because
sure. Be selfish.
Is honestly, I will. I'm going to treat myself. I mean, honestly, mine is pretty much the same sort of, but it's the fact that we scored in the third, not once, but twice on a power play. We almost never do anything. Utica is notorious for not doing anything on power plays. When they scored the first time, people were excited. When they scored a second time, people knew that they were actually
trying.
They were trying, because we never see them do much with power plays. They were they were not only getting power plays but scoring on them. And again, one could be a fluke. The second one shows somewhat of consistency, and that for me was really the plays in general that really changed it for me was the fact that we were actually taking opportunities on power plays to score instead of just playing with the ball. And yeah, I really felt like that was important because, it not only did it pump the players up, it pumped the crowd up every time.
Mm-hmm.
And it really changed the atmosphere in the odd from great, here we go again to holy crud, they're coming back. So that was me personally.
Shaky, shaky dog. Well, I'll go next, I guess. My goal comes my play that changed the game comes quite a bit earlier, but it does involve a power play. First quarter, if you guys remember, Moy tried for the bicycle kick and then clipped. I can't remember who it was. Clipped him in the face.
Second week of in the face.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I can't remember who it was.
I can't remember who it was, but I don't know. From the look of things, he got him at least across the nose, which you get a foot to the nose. Yeah, you're going to lay on the turf for a little while. Just gather yourself.
Got kicked might not remember who it was that got kicked anymore either, because, I mean, getting kicked in the face by Moy is probably not good. It probably doesn't feel good. But I hope they're okay, though.
Utica comes out, and over the course of the next 2 minutes, Harrisburg only gets 2 shots off on that power play. They do get a third shot off a second after it ends, just a quick rapid fire. That power play kill, I think, energized the team defensively. And as much as we've said the offense needs to step up, it was the defense in this game, and Wilkin especially, who had let in 2 goals at that point and then let in only 2 more in the next 3 quarters. Utica goes on a 5-2 run after that. And it was nice to see defensively, because the earlier power play that Utica had, they didn't do anything. I know last week we said they weren't moving around enough. They were kind of flat. It looked a lot better, so I wasn't too worried if they got another one later in the game. But defensively, that was a big stand. You go down 3-0 there in the first quarter, that game's over.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. That was just, getting that penalty kill was definitely, it was very important. Just to try and at least keep the energy going, because otherwise, we were all going to fall flat at that point.
All right, Michelle, your play that changed the game.
Christian's goal. It got the crowd more hyped up, which kind of in turn got the players more hyped up. And I mean, he pulled a Mauricio Salas and ripped his jersey up over his head, which was really adorable because he's so
and then
little.
He realized, no, I don't want to do this, and pulled it back down really quick.
Yes, he did.
It was cute. No, it was. You could tell that the fans got way more into it after that, because there was actually chanting and cheering and screaming, and holy crap, the fans are actually into it, and the team actually felt like they kind of got back into it too. I mean, not too long after that, Moises scored a goal, so there was that.
Yeah, it was 2 minutes. It was pretty much 2 minutes later on a power play. And, yeah, the rest is history. So I'm going to let you have that play, Michelle. I'm going to choose another one. I'm going to say the FC Fanatic sitting in Section 212 during the third quarter. I think that's what changed the game.
Yeah, but then you left us.
Yeah, and then you left us, and then they just kept going.
Because I knew the game was ours. So
the confidence in this one.
Yeah, it was nice going into the fourth quarter with a 3-3 tie. Or fourth, only down 4-3, sorry.
It was down 4-3, and then we scored. Was the fourth one even strength?
Yes.
Even strength, that was Logan and
then the Moises Gonzalez with 50 seconds left, or 20 seconds left, was power play. Yep. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that one was a well-deserved power play, because they had completely beaten Francis, and he just stuck his foot in from behind.
Yep.
And then he mocked the ref.
Look, he got his words in. You get your money's worth. Because
I mean, you're gonna, people, guys get mouthy on both sides. It's not just one side or the other. They're gonna voice their opinions to the
we've
ref.
seen Bo and Slav and plenty of them.
Yeah,
Joey.
Joey is the worst one.
They all voice their opinions. You're not going to change that. They just need to make sure that, and this goes for any of them, whether it's our team, their team, who cares? They just need to make sure that they rein it in a little bit so that they don't get more.
So they don't get dissent.
I mean, dissent's. I feel like dissent's kind of a slap on the wrist, but
I do want to mention a play I saw from Joey that was encouraging. It was before the game was tied, before the fourth quarter, before they even went on the power play run there. He was down in his usual spot up against the boards. If you're watching it on the game, on the video feed, left end of the field, far side. Ball gets picked up by Harrisburg, and he busted it downfield to break up a breakaway play, a fast break. I mean, he went from that corner to the yellow line on the near side at the other end of the field faster than anyone else on that turf. Just the hustle was good to see at that point. Even knowing the outcome, it was like, finally, you can see the effort from everyone.
Yes, there was
And
definitely.
it was a welcome relief.
It wasn't just one person. It was definitely all of them really felt like they were putting in the effort to win and not just be there and not just, they wanted the win, and it showed once they got fired up.
I guess one thing I want to ask you guys, because I wasn't there, had to work, so had to watch it on the replay, is I heard Bo may have said something about the crowd size at halftime.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of this comment, but basically Bo said that, when asked about what he felt about the fans, which I think is kind of a silly question to ask every time, but they do anyway. He said, this is not word for word, but we appreciate the fans. We love the fans. We were kind of hoping for a bigger crowd this week, so maybe there'll be more fans here next week, something like that. Something to that effect, which is kind of a slap in the face to anyone who's there.
Yeah.
Screaming our heads off, and I didn't take it personally, and I still don't. It's in the heat of the moment, but it was just like, wow. Personally, I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way, and I just feel like that's maybe something you don't say.
Well, fun fact, I didn't know this happened. So this is the first for me. So hearing it for the first time, what's he trying? Is he trying to blame us for not having enough fans at the game? You guys were 0-2, so.
Yeah. And you hadn't looked good at either of those games.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that it's kind of off-putting a little bit, but the fans that were there definitely brought them back in the game. So
we definitely showed our support. Like I said, I'm still getting my voice back from Friday, but yeah, it was a bit off-putting. But again, I don't take something like that personally. Like, that's just heat of the moment, mid in an interview.
Yeah.
And again, I understand why they asked the question, but I still think it's kind of a silly question to ask
every time.
Single game.
So yeah, for attendance, there were 2,569 people there.
So it's still only like 600 off from our home opener, I believe.
Yeah, it's down a bit. After 3 games, Utica's averaging 2,900 fans, which is down 300 from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Again, you have to take into account that the team did not look good the first 2 games. It's still the holiday season, so people have, unfortunately, other places that they will prioritize.
No, that you need to be at the game.
It's COVID.
I would, and COVID, which we'll address later in the show. That said, that 2,569 is almost 1,000 more than San Diego had at their home opener, in which they had the ring ceremony for last season. Like, their first home game in almost 700 days.
Yep.
And they had 1,600. So, I also would have liked to have seen a bigger crowd, but be thankful for the fans you have. Go ahead, Matt.
And according to the MASL website, how many people were at the Florida games this weekend?
Oh, 0. They have not reported an attendance for either of them.
Which is not shocking. Anyways, let's move on.
Anyway.
They're all ghosts.
Yeah, let's turn our attention to the Saturday game. 24 hours later, down in Harrisburg. From what I saw, the guys got into Harrisburg sometime after 2 a.m. because it's about a 5-hour drive. Game ended around 9, so.
Yeah, they left as soon as the game ended.
Oh, I don't blame them. Yeah, you got to get straight on that hit the showers, change, get into street clothes, and get on a bus or a vans, whatever you're taking. And in that game, we once again saw Wilkin in goal. Harrisburg also put out their backup keeper. So you had, what was his name? McCauley?
Darian McCauley.
Yeah, something McCauley, yeah.
In goal and taking on Wilkin. So 2 backup keepers if everyone's healthy. And Utica took advantage of that bigly. 9 goals on 23 shots, which is much more what we're used to seeing from this team. Harrisburg only scored 4. Wilkin had a return to earth performance, 630-ish save percentage, but still a good game. Let's hear your guys' stat that tells the story for this one.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Sir?
I think my favorite was the 2 goals within 30 seconds of each other.
It's not really a stat.
That was my favorite.
Well, the stat is 2 goals within 30 seconds right before the half. I mean,
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yes. Yeah,
So
I just wanted to say I was kind of listening at work, and I heard the first goal, and then I had to take my earpiece out to talk to my boss, and then I put it back in, and I hear, and it's 3-1 Utica. I'm like, what the heck just happened?
That's 3-1 Rochester.
Sorry.
Yeah, 3-1 Rochester.
Hey, they have the best pizza in America, according to some internet poll that's been going around.
Yes, Rochester. Well, I mean, I've never had it, but so this is not really a stat that's in the stat sheets. It's kind of more of an observation. I don't know if all of the goals went this way, but they all beat the keeper on the left-hand side. Bottom right corner, but it's to the goalie's left.
Yes, I did notice a lot of that.
He was beaten on that left side all game long. So I thought that was an interesting stat.
Yes, I definitely noticed that as well, that it was a trend over and over and over. So it was very interesting to see that kind of, not really. Definitely needs to make some adjustment there.
Oh, he might, yes.
It was certainly I would say that's a stat that tells the story, because when you realize all the goals can go to one side of the keeper and you utilize that weakness again and again and again, it does tell the story.
Yeah. And, an interesting, I'm just going to throw this out there. It's more of like an interesting stat for the season as of right now. So let's look at the first game against Florida. We got blown out. Okay. Just blown out of the water. Okay. Mm-hmm. Second game against Baltimore, we play good, and then we kind of fade off. Okay. Mm-hmm. Third game, we fade off, play good. And then fourth game, we blow out Harrisburg. So it's kind of like, I don't know if I want to say like a palindrome. Where it's like the season's gone, or it looks the same frontwards as it does backwards. I don't know. I'll shut up now.
Yeah.
Michelle, you looked confused on that one.
No, you know what I thought was, I just want to say, you know what I thought was completely adorable? When Nate scored his goal and he jumped on Christian and Christian tried his best to hold him up.
He held him up fine.
He did.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He's so little!
Nate had the unassisted goal, or one of the unassisted goals.
I was like, which one? Because there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Brandon, your stat that tells the story?
So I'm going to say this isn't really a stat, because honestly, there isn't really a stat that stands out to me for this game. What I did observe is a lot of our non-typical scorers scored for this game. You know, we had Pat Thompson scoring. We had Somo scoring. We had Joey back on the board twice. We had Patrick Thompson twice. We had Slav scoring. We had Quentin Swift scoring, which, I mean, that last one was a great, breakaway goal. And, it was just so nice to see some of our other guys scoring other than who we normally would see, like Bo, like Christian. I mean, Christian still got a goal, but it was nice seeing a return, almost like a return to form for some of these other guys, or, emerging talent for some of the ones that we haven't seen play for us before. It was just really nice not seeing the same people, Bo, Christian, Moy, over and over and over, almost carrying the scoring. So that was my personal observation. It was just nice seeing goals coming from other people taking chances and not just trying to get it to the foot of one of our main scorers. That was mine. Like, I thought that was fantastic. I loved seeing these other guys scoring.
Cool. Yeah. We should note that was Somo's and Swift's first career goals in the MASL. So they get that pressure off to get that out of the way and hopefully can play a little more naturally as the season moves on here when it resumes. My stat, kind of related to Michelle's, where she enjoyed the 2 goals in 35 seconds. 3 goals in a minute and 35 seconds, if you want. 18 seconds. That is all that Harrisburg led this game for.
Oh, yeah.
18 seconds. That first quarter was slow. Kerstetter, who, if you need to know how to spell his name, you could just go listen to the broadcast and hear the whole advertisement there about his realty business. He scored that first goal, and then 18 seconds later, Vitali finds Thompson to tie it. And it was like the floodgate was opened at that point. Yep. Utica scores 3. Harrisburg gets 1. Utica scores 3. Harrisburg gets 1. Utica scores 2. Harrisburg gets 1. And then just for tee-hees and poops and giggles at the end of it, Swift puts one in against the 6th attacker open net.
Mm-hmm.
Just Harrisburg had that brief lead, and then Utica jumped on them and said, "We're not letting you come into this game and hang around like you did last night."
They did what you always have said they need to do. Kick
them while they're down.
And keep kicking until they're done. Paraphrasing.
Because, I mean, it's not like Harrisburg was done. They tried, but every time they showed a crack in that defense, Utica tightened back up and then opened up the lead more before they kind of let off a little bit, let a goal by, and then we're like, oh, can't do that. It was fantastic to see. And yes, it's against a rebuilding team, as we kept hearing and we mentioned last week.
Yep.
But it's something to build off of moving forward.
Yes, it's something to build momentum off of, is, 2 games in a row winning, and one very decisively.
Yes.
That is definitely something to build off of, regardless of, you can't underestimate a team that's, maybe all rookies. You can't. You can't underestimate any team. So, it's good that they, hammered away at it.
All right.
I do actually have one. It wasn't I did think of an actual stat, though. However, it's not on the stat sheet.
Sure, go for it.
And I just want to mention it. We possessed the ball a lot. We kept the ball a lot. We didn't just give it away. We actually had possession for a lot of the game. Mm-hmm. Hence part of the reason why we have so many goals. But we possessed the ball, which was something that, again, I felt was lacking in the first couple games, and we actually had possession for a good majority of the game, and a lot of it was down in Harrisburg's end. So an actual, maybe not a recorded stat, but time-wise, we had a lot of possession that game.
All right, so that'll wrap up last weekend. And
hang on. I thought of something too.
Okay.
And I might need clarification.
Coming back around.
How many goals did we let Dominic Francis score this weekend?
0.
1, I think, on
1.
Friday.
Either 0 or 1. He is like their go-to guy. For Utica to shut down a guy like Dominic Francis, that's huge. I think when you shut down
0
that player,
Cunningham,
it's a big fat 0.
Yeah.
He's nothing.
Yeah. So, I mean, there you go. If Dominic Francis scores 2 goals in that Friday game, completely different story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Saturday would have been a win for Utica, but we held them to 0 goals.
All right, so let's put a bow on that. Enjoy that under the Christmas tree this weekend. Back to 2-2, second in the East with 6 points in the standings. And we'll take a quick pause here for one of our sponsored ads. And we are back. So before we get into this next segment, I want to bring back up last week we had that voicemail criticizing Bo.
Oh, God.
And I think after this performance this weekend, we're feeling a little bit better about how he's doing. We think he stepped up to the plate a bit. He did have the first goal in the game on Friday. And I know we were critical of his signature move, but I think I only saw it once in the game on Friday, and it was a lot faster than it had been in a while. Like, he moved quick. Yeah.
It was not present on Saturday. He still, put his foot on it, and he would still, but that was literally just to stop it, and then he would pass it away. He did not try. He wasn't a one-trick pony at all.
Yeah, it was nice to see that change. The one time I remember seeing it on Friday, he beat his defender in about 2 dribbles and then took a shot that tested Willie B. Took a great save to stop, but it looked a lot better.
Yeah, definitely a good performance from our illustrious captain, co-captain.
As we said, as Bo goes, the team tends to go. So
exactly.
All right.
Agreed. I think, as you said, as Bo goes, the team goes. But they all played with urgency, and I think that's the key for the team going forward. And I think you saw that on Saturday. Well, the light bulb kind of went on third quarter Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we could go 0-3. Like, by the end of the weekend, we could go 0-4.
Yeah.
If that was the case, I was going to, I don't know what I would have done. But
burn the soup.
No.
No, that's functional in daily life.
I don't own a suit. But I think they finally came together and said, listen, the fans are sick of this. We're sick of this. Let's just fix it. And they did. Hopefully it stays that way, but
so we kind of mentioned it before the break. Utica is now drawn even at 2-2. They have 6 points in the standings. They looked like the team that we're used to seeing in those last 6 quarters over the weekend. I kind of posed this question on Twitter in a poll. Where do you guys put Utica at this point? Are they back and you're fully on board? Are you like, well, it was Harrisburg. Of course, they were going to beat them. They're still not ready to face teams that are going to compete for a title this year. Or are you just at maybe, and we'll just wait and see how they do in their next game.
Yeah, how'd that turn out?
Give me a second. I'll pull it up here.
Because I know how I voted.
I'm pretty sure it was like 58% said wait until after 126, which is now wait until after, or 1226, and now it's wait until after January 1st when they go down to Florida. Profile. Scrolly. There's this week's wallpaper, which I hope you guys enjoyed. There it is. 57% waiting till after the next game.
Yep.
33% are back on board, and 9.5% are it's the Heat. They're still gonna suck.
Again, that last one goes back to you don't underestimate any team. You can lose against any team. You can win against any team most of the time. Well, you can definitely lose against any team for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to tell you right now, I was a wait and see, and that's not because I voted too, because I can. I definitely feel that they are doing better, but I want to see them against a top tier team again. Harrisburg's good, but they're not top tier, and we know that. And we can see that just from looking at the league. I want to see the same fury, the same get up and go, the same energy at a Florida game, at a Baltimore game that we saw in, like you said, those 6 quarters against Harrisburg. Then I'll start to really believe that we're back in business. But until I see them go a full game against a top tier team, where even if we go, I don't care if we go down, 8-2 or something, as long as they're putting in serious effort and really trying, that's what I want to see. And that's the only way that I will begin to believe that we're ready to compete.
No.
They're not. I voted the wait and see. They're not going to lose my support regardless of what they do. But I'm banking on the wait and see.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it a clean sweep. So I didn't get to vote because I still have not turned on my Twitter. I haven't reinstalled Twitter yet because that's one thing I did after they went 0-2.
You rage quitted Twitter.
I did. I rage quitted a lot. I will say that. I rage quitted a lot after that game. And I also rage quitted over a couple other things, which we'll get into later. But I'm a wait and see. I mean, I think, like, I've been on board with this team for years, whatever, and I know what this team is capable of. And like you guys said, we're not going to make the playoffs just by beating Harrisburg. It's not going to happen. This schedule is super, super tough. So you look at the next 4 games. Florida, then a home game on the 16th. Who's the game against the 16th?
Baltimore.
Okay, so 2 against Florida, 2 against Baltimore. Is it February 23rd we play them, or is it January 23rd?
February
23rd.
Okay, so let's just say the next 3 games. Florida, Baltimore, and then you throw in, they play San Diego at the end of the month, and then they play Ontario 2 nights later. So, the next 5 or 6 games are against top-tier teams.
This next stretch is just awful.
Yeah,
I was going to say, you skipped over.
So you have 2 road games against Florida, home against Baltimore, road against Milwaukee, home against Ontario, road against San Diego and Ontario, home against Baltimore.
No, road against Baltimore.
Road against Baltimore. And that only gets you to February 5th.
Yeah, so we're 2-2, and that's the best case scenario for us. Like, after the start they had, they've rated the shit. But I want to see what they do against Florida. Are they going to lose 7-1 again? Are they going to put up an effort? If they lose I think if they lose like 5-4 or 6-4 or something like that, then I think we can safely say this team is okay. They're fine. They're gonna play great.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know if they lose, if they get blown out in both of those games. I don't know. Like, I think my gut is saying this team will be fine. This team's going to make the playoffs, and they're going to make a lot of noise in the playoffs. It's not, and I should have thought of this before I did all of the rage quitting and everything. It's not how you start; it's how you finish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think I'm kind of like holding back a little bit. I think they'll be fine, but I'm waiting to see.
Yeah, we're going to call that a clean sweep. 4 for 4 on the wait and see. And that's because of where I stand. Just, again, see where we are against a good team. And if this team's going to have any chance of winning the division, I would say the next 3 games will decide it. You need to go 2-1 in those games. You have to beat Baltimore at home. If you're going to win the division, you got to go 2-1 against them at home and expect to go, steal one on the road like they just did against you. You got to go 5-1 against Harrisburg. You got to go Florida, got to be a 2-2 split. And since they stole one on your home turf, you got to steal one down there. And if they don't go 2-1 or 3-0 over this next 3-game stretch, there goes the division. You're still playing for the playoffs. Just look competitive. Please look competitive. And that's,
I would be even happy with an overtime loss. That means 1 point. Like, record doesn't matter. We want points. Like, I would take an overtime loss in Florida.
Well,
like, if we lost in regulation and then an overtime loss, like going out of Florida with a point, I would be okay with that. Of course, I don't want it to happen, but
yeah, then you absolutely have to beat them at home late in the season to get that point differential to make it 4-3 you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that kind of plays into, if we're gonna lose to Florida in overtime, that does kind of play into, showing effort in the game. That means that they would have had to show some sort of effort, either that or Florida's slacking off.
Mm-hmm. I think their best shot to do it is going to be the first game because they need to go in there with a chip on their shoulder. And we can talk about that much more next week when we do a preview if the game doesn't get moved. But yeah, so we're all on board with the Utica's not back yet, but they're looking like it. Let's play it a little cautious, We're not going all in right now, but we're not going to fold.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'll be honest, I said it in the group chat. I've been talking about going out to that Ontario game, but with the game this weekend getting postponed, I was using that as a gauge. And if they had just looked competitive, I was going to be booking my flight and hotel and game ticket after the game Sunday when we were at 72. So we'll see what happens with all that. And take a quick pause here before we go into the next segment and discuss why that game has been postponed. And let's bring it back from that little break and get to the pandemic in the arena, shall we say? The game against Baltimore, originally scheduled for December 26th, at the odd has been moved until February 23rd due to COVID concerns or positives on both teams. Baltimore's 2 games this past weekend were moved, so it looks like they must be having more people pop up positive. Utica, we don't know who's positive, and that's part of the issue, is not knowing anything. How you guys feeling about this?
I mean, it definitely sucks when, you find out that a game has been even postponed. We unfortunately had some fun plans for this weekend. We were planning on being in the beer garden and stuff like that to, celebrate Michelle's birthday. But
look, I have one question, and that is, who won't let the dogs out?
And for those of you that are listening to this podcast, what just happened is, no, I won't say it.
Brandon shot me daggers and then flipped me off, and then it looks like he muted his mic, and it's just good and fun here.
Thumbs up, and there we go.
All right, so he'll come back in when the dogs stop barking, I guess. Yep.
All right. Well, then I guess
maybe
I will. Brandon, I'll just take it away, okay? All right.
Okay.
Perfect. I'm going to be honest with you. I am really disappointed that this did happen. And going through comments and things that I've read, a lot of this is hearsay. Like, oh, it was Baltimore's fault, and oh, it's Utica's fault, and we really don't know what is actually going on. But we can kind of look at what happened last year. So last year, Tacoma went down to Dallas and had half a team. But they filled it with their reserves. So Tacoma ended up playing against Dallas, and they lost. So even though they had players tested positive for COVID, they kept them back in Tacoma, they signed players, and they went down to Dallas. I kind of think that's what should have happened in this case. I mean, I don't know how many players tested positive, but you look at Baltimore, okay? They have, I'm sure, a lot of players that can be called on a minute's notice and saying, hey, we got a game. Do you want to play? And I think on the same side for Utica, I think that we could have fielded a team and played this game. I'm disappointed at this point. I'm glad it's rescheduled. But I'm disappointed.
All right, Brandon, Michelle, you guys got anything you want to throw in here before I give my piece?
To go into the beer garden. I had a sash and a tiara picked out and everything.
Oh, geez, you didn't even tell me that. Oh, God.
Oh, thank God I hadn't bought beer garden tickets yet. I'm not affiliated with these people.
But no, in all seriousness, I mean, I definitely understand, taking the cautious approach to some of this stuff. I mean, with everything that's happened over the past year and a half, almost 2 years now, it's been a while. I can understand approaching it with, a pessimistic view and kind of, just taking the more of the precautionary, the safer route to an extent. But I don't know. There's always, it's going back to the whole finger pointing thing. You're always going to have that. when nobody knows what the actual case is, when nobody knows what the actual facts are, you're literally always going to have he said, she said.
Yeah, he did shed his COVID onto someone else.
Yeah.
He said with a she shed, and he said she shed.
So I think I'll say this for everyone. Obviously, we hope those who have tested positive pull through. They're all right. They come back healthy and they're ready to play quickly.
Yep.
With that out of the way, what are the protocols? What are they? I can't find them. I have scrolled back through the MASL news feed on their website to July 2020, and nothing in there is a news blast saying, here's what we're doing to keep our players safe during the pandemic. Are there rules for players that are unvaccinated versus players that are vaccinated? How often are they testing? What kind of restrictions do they have outside of facilities, in facilities? It's just, we have no idea.
I don't know when it comes to testing. They might have changed the testing protocol, but I can tell you that for the All-Star game, they were tested 7 days prior and maybe 3 days prior, and then they were tested the day of the event. So that's the reason why Darren Toby didn't play. I think one of those two tests were positive.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he didn't play. When we got to Kansas City, one of the other players tested positive that day. Got off the plane, went to the hotel, got tested, found out it was positive, turned right back around, and headed home.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I would imagine testing is done. I wouldn't say on a daily basis, because that seems quite expensive.
Right.
So I would imagine it's the same sort of thing, where you get tested maybe 3 days before, then you get tested the day of.
But again, this is all speculation.
That's a guess.
It's all speculation. We don't know. Right. The league has not been transparent about it at all. And I mean, since Utica's come in and we've begun talking about it, it's one of the things that I have harped on the league about is lack of transparency.
Mm-hmm.
And it's frustrating from a fan point. Well, the game's postponed because there are people with COVID. Who? How many? Were they vaccinated? Can we expect this to be a quick turnaround? I mean, we just saw this with Syracuse basketball. They had 2 games postponed on conference. One of them's been rescheduled with a different team. That aside, 14 of their 20 players tested positive. Every single one of them was vaccinated and had their booster. They've had players go on local radio and say, you know what, it wasn't that bad, but because of league protocols, we were out for X number of days. I know with the NFL, if you test positive and you're vaccinated, all you have to do is get 2 negative tests on back-to-back days and you're cleared to play again.
Yep.
Just what are the protocols? That's all I'm asking. And it frustrates me that we don't have a clue. And then I feel like if the league ever got around to enforcing the injury report that they're supposed to have every week, there needs to be a designation for COVID on there. So it's like, you know, questionable, probable, doubtful, out, COVID protocols.
Right.
It's not rocket surgery.
Or brain science.
No, yeah. No, it's something that's literally been done by other larger leagues. And we're not asking for the world here. It's not that hard to put up a quick blurb on your website that says, here's what the protocols are.
Yeah, we have protocols. Like, each arena has protocols for MASL games.
Yes.
Why can't the league have protocols communicated to us? Like, hey, here's like a sneak peek, like players are tested this, and this, if they're vaccinated, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think this would clear up a lot of speculation.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, as far as like a player's vaccination status, I mean, I don't know if you can really share that though. That's
that's pretty much a HIPAA violation.
because I was going to say, ask.
No, that's it's
you
only a
literally-
HIPAA violation if the doctor shares it. If the league is saying we need to know your status for X, Y, or Z, because you see it with the NFL every time, especially this past week where players tested positive. They're like, well, these guys are vaccinated. They'll be back in 3 to 5 days as long as they get the negative tests. Whereas guys like, was it Cole Beasley on Buffalo, who's flat out said, yeah, I'm fine. The only thing keeping me out is the rules. Well, if you'd gotten your shot, you wouldn't be out for 10 days. Or, who's out because they're high risk. That's something that comes into it. If you're in close contact and you're unvaccinated, you're going to end up on that list. Whereas if you're vaccinated and in close contact with someone that tests positive, you're probably not going to, because you have at least a baseline defense against it.
Yeah, you have some level of protection against it versus, nothing. Flying by the seat of your pants. Hoping for the best.
But what if you're not wearing pants?
Well, then you're
Crap.
weird.
Right.
Yeah, I would recommend wearing pants, just like I would recommend wearing a mask at this point.
Um,
And not just because it's mandated here in New York.
But wearing pants?
Sure.
All right, perfect.
if wearing pants is a rule, then never mind. Anyway,
I think it's in public
If I am
spaces,
a
Brandon.
rule
You're safe.
breaker,
Well, this escalated quickly.
Yeah, so that's the other thing that needs to be said about it is here in New York, obviously, we do have the mask mandate back in effect. And I'm sure you guys you guys said you watched the Friday game here at the Odd. I don't know if you noticed it while you were there, but I noticed it on the video feed. Is there are a lot of people with the mask around their chin for an extended period of time, not when they're eating or drinking, just not wearing it. It's on their wrist. They don't care. And it's not being enforced. And I know we're all very tired of having to enforce it and deal with these people that just refuse to put it on and deal with the minor nuisance that everyone else can deal with. But the Odd needs to actually enforce the mandate because they're putting players at risk. When you put players at risk, that's the product. And when you can't have players on the field, you can't have games, you can't sell tickets, that hurts your bottom line. It's not that hard to turn this into a money thing where these arenas should care about it.
yeah, I definitely noticed that myself. I mean, I think, even even at one point, even I had a drink, that I was nursing, but not necessarily drinking, consistently. And I'll be honest, I don't think I had mine on. Now, granted, I'll openly say that, I've had all three of mine. I've had my 3 shots. I mean, I'm up to date on that and stuff, but, I did not have mine on very much. Now, granted, I was in my seat. But, I was, nursing my drink, but not drinking it consistently. And, that was a common thing around the Odd. So I think, frankly, I guess I think you need to pick one. Either enforce it or don't. No middle ground.
Or require vaccination.
Or
Yeah, because that
potentially-
opts you out of it.
Or potentially, having people, prove that they are vaccinated. That could be an option too.
Yeah, because you have to pick one or the other. You can't have people without masks on say, well, I'm vaccinated.
Yeah, you have to prove it. I could see that going. I could see it, going either way. Either way, it's going to be a big fight, no matter what. People that, aren't vaccinated would, of course, want to get in, not have to wear masks. They,
Boo hoo. Boo hoo. I'm tired of having this argument with people.
I know, but
do your part. Suck it up. Yeah.
You know what's going to happen either way. You know it's going to. They would get through the door with the mask on, and then it comes off in the odd.
Yes.
And nobody's going to notice a difference.
So I'll bring back up Syracuse basketball because they instituted new policies after this loss of games. They were already vaccine required to enter the arena or proof of negative test within 72 hours.
Mm-hmm.
They still required you to wear a mask the whole time you were in there.
Mm-hmm.
They're still doing that. But because of, as you kind of mentioned, you were doing with the loophole of slowly nursing your drink and not putting the mask up every time. But the Carrier Dome is no longer selling concessions or alcohol until further notice.
Yeah, I heard about that. One of the concession stands at the Odd was talking about that.
And they lose a lot of money on that. Concessions is huge.
But it's them saying, well, we're going to lose more money in TV contracts and ticket sales and everything else if we can't have games. And I really hope it doesn't come to that for the Odd. But it's...
Again, that's definitely a big hit to the bottom line.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not as big as not having games in general, but... And so that's why, obviously they want to make sure they have games. And in order to do that, in order to try and protect the safety of people, players, officials, whatever, that's what they have to do, then so be it. But that just means that people were not following the rules and they needed to. Again, I'm even calling myself out, like I said, from this past weekend.
I know Mike was chasing people around like crazy.
Yep. One of the we were watching some of the security, and I mean, you weren't wearing it at the very minimum. Not when you were walking around. They were cut. They were, getting
feisty.
Good.
Feisty.
Like at this point, we're so far into this, like you said, almost 2 years. I just make it a one-strike policy. You tell them once. After that, kick them out.
Yep.
Get him out of here.
Get him out of here.
So next game will be January 2nd against Florida. We could talk about that in a preview next week. I guess we can either take a pause here for a quick ad or wrap it up if you guys don't have anything else to talk about.
I don't.
I mean, I think we've covered the important topics. If we're going to do a preview next week, since we don't have one this week.
Yeah.
Well, Well, if you want to do
Huber has other plans.
No, I have just... It's one quick question for the three of you.
Okay.
So we're going to be doing this on the show. When this comes out, it'll be tonight. Well, Thursday night, which was tonight.
Yes.
Tomorrow, but tonight when it comes out.
Tomorrow from when we record, tonight when people can listen.
Right.
Okay.
So it's the Christmas season. What would you guys want to give Utica or what would you want Utica to get for Christmas?
Wins.
Well,
it's pretty simple. Just win.
Just win.
Okay. Well.
No, I want them to win, but I also want them to be happy and healthy while they do it.
Okay.
I think if I had to say what I would, not tangible, but personally what I would like to see, what I think would be great for the team to get for Christmas is their fire back. Like, for permanently, not just, seeing it for a couple of games. I want to see their fire back. I want to see the passion back in them, and a passion that can be maintained not only for a few games, but the entire season, all the way to the end. Because we have seen them fizzle in the past, and I want to see them. I want to see that sustainability. So, get that fire back.
Okay. What do you think, Matt?
I guess mine's more for the entire league. And that's some better visa laws.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, funny story. That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, we're playing without some of our top players. I mean, having Darren Toby not on the field right now is like gut-wrenching to me.
Yeah, it's a huge loss defensively.
He's been in the league for years, and now all of a sudden it's this major issue. Ricardo Dieguez and Diego Zuniga are two of the best players at their positions. Or without him. Obasi's injured, so it doesn't fall under the visa thing. But, and yeah, I think as a whole, the league needs to get on the government and be like, listen, this has been going on for a while now, so I don't know what the issue is. New players, I can understand. But ones that have been in the league for years, what's the issue?
And just pick up the phone and ring the Oval Office like, hey, you kind of promised to make this thing back to normal, and that hasn't happened yet. But it was something you said you'd do. Maybe get on that.
Give us our players.
You can build back better after you just get us back to
Full
ground
story.
floor.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you took mine too. So
You son of a gun.
no, that's fine.
Dare you steal it?
That's fine. Matt stole my moment of the game, or moment that changed the game in the
That's
first
true.
one. And that's why I was kind of like, crap, you guys gotta, or everyone else go so that I can find another one.
Thievery.
That's right. That's how I roll. But yeah, that's it. That's all I had.
Well, folks, I think that's going to be everything. Matt, you want to plug your pluggables?
Yeah, sure. I'll
God,
plug
my
the
arms
pluggables.
disappeared.
So tomorrow night, while we're recording this, or tonight as you're listening to this, in the box we'll have Eric Bergrid from the Kansas City Comets. We have Jonathan Breimer from the Ontario Fury, and the most important guests of all, Hannah and Henry.
Ooh. Okay.
And it's 8:30 Eastern. We're not doing Central Time anymore.
You guys couldn't get Jack on. I heard Adam invite him in the last stream.
We're going to be bringing people on, but this week we had we've been wanting to get Jonathan Reimer on the show, and then Eric Berger reached out to Adam, so it's kind of a plethora of things. And plus, we're going to talk about the issues going on in Baltimore and Utica, and I guess we'll predict some games. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, big show tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you only have one game to predict before your next show, so.
Oh, well, then that'll be easy. Then we'll just sit and talk about COVID protocols.
Yay!
Yay, the COVID protocols.
All right. That's going to do it for us all here today. I want to thank everyone for listening. Wish you a Merry Christmas, if that's what you celebrate. Happy Yule, if you're celebrating that today while we're celebrating, or Festivus for the rest of us.
Or, in the words of Moises Gonzalez and Christian Segura, Feliz Navidad.
Oliver Plug.
I'm sorry, that was an adorable sing-along.
It was adorable.
You had to bring it up. I mean,
that is one of the funniest things I've ever watched in my entire life. If you haven't watched it yet, go on the Utica City Facebook page and watch it. It's hilarious.
Absolutely. It was great.
All right, Matt, let's try this again.
Sorry. He talked about stuff.
Call that a wrap then for this. Everyone enjoy their holidays, whatever they may be. Or if you want to be grinchy, be miserable, because I get that.
I live that.
We all know the Grinch didn't hate Christmas. He just hated people. And let's be honest, that's fair.
True.
I hate people.
See?
I don't hate Michelle. See, there I said something nice.
No,
It's for the Christmas spirit. That's all. Anyways.
Yeah, our plugs are in the outro that'll play here shortly. Make sure you check out the social media channels. We got the Wallpaper Wednesday, which involved Slava Claus this week. I hope you guys liked it. Brandon's doing inappropriate things, and now Matt's face popped up, and it looks like he's seen a ghost. You're saying
Okay,
things. There you go.
No, I'm not done. That's all I had, really.
I'm done.
I'm done.
So we had originally planned to end the episode here, but we had a slight change. Michelle had to go to bed, and we didn't want to keep Matt too long, so please stick around after this brief word from our sponsor for a interview with Coach Ryan Hall as he addresses the accusations made against Utica revolving around the COVID issue, and just kind of talks about the season with us. Here's a quick commercial break. All right, and we are back. I know we said we were going to cut this off after ending things with Huber, but we had a special surprise that we wanted to bring in, a special guest. Joining us tonight is coach of Utica City FC, Ryan Hall. Ryan, say hello.
What's up, guys? How you doing? Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for reaching out.
Absolutely. Happy holidays.
Yes, you as
happy
well.
Holidays to you. It's been a long time coming. Definitely a pleasure to finally have you.
Pleasure is all mine. Pleasure is all mine.
Now, obviously, we hope we could have this conversation under happier terms, but there's, as I stated earlier, or phrased it earlier, a pandemic in the arena that needs to be addressed regarding the league, and some rumors and hearsay and he said, she said on social media that I think you can help us clear up.
Sure. Happy to help.
So we know last weekend's games with Baltimore were canceled due to them having players and staff in protocols for COVID. And Kansas City came out and blatantly on social media said that it was Baltimore failing to meet COVID expectations that allowed these positive, so that, just a bad look from a league standpoint. And I spent a good chunk of time digging around, scrolling through the social media and MASL website, trying to find the protocols, but they don't seem to be public. So maybe you could shed some light on those for us.
There definitely is protocols. I'm assuming post this latest outbreak, etc., they'll be a little bit stiffer and new policies will be released. Excuse me. So we have sort of followed the same guidelines as other major league sports. Obviously making sure all the players are vaccinated, and that really comes down to individual organizations. So from a Utica City standpoint, due to New York laws, like all of our players have to be vaccinated. So I don't know what the case is for a Maryland, a Kansas City, Missouri, stuff like that. But for us, all of our players have to be vaccinated just to enter the building. Mainly because we are employed by Garden Entertainment, and they have a staff larger than 500, and that puts you into a different bracket where everybody has to be vaccinated. So the rumors, first and foremost, about players we put players on the field that are not vaccinated is false. Number one, it can't happen. They wouldn't be employed by Utica City FC. In terms of the league's policies, it's an interesting time. As we are coming back around and there's another outbreak, you find it where players and people in general, if you've been vaccinated, you already had COVID, the new variant doesn't hit you as hard, but you're still positive and you can still transmit it to other people. So the rule of thumb right now is you test right now once a week roughly, but then you wait for signs of any kind of outbreak or flu-like symptoms, et cetera. Then if that happens, you test them immediately. If they test positive, get them out of here, quarantine them. If it test negative, they're back in play. The issue with that, though, is you could very well have the virus and be contagious without showing symptoms, be asymptomatic. And
Right.
This is where it becomes this real gray area. So you have players who could be around each other, be completely asymptomatic, play in a game or train, and they're 100% contagious because they're asymptomatic, but they don't show symptoms for 3 or 4 days. And by then, they've already been around everybody else. So I know the league is getting into stricter protocols and testing midweek, I think I've heard, and then also prior to games. But that gray area of when are you contagious, when you actually have the disease, or it's just it's a tough thing to try to manage. It's not very cost efficient to test every single day. So we test periodically, and then any sign of sniffles, cough, etc., we test them right away. And if they're negative, jump back on the field. If they're positive, get them out of here and quarantine. And we try to do the best we can underneath the circumstances and within the protocols that the league and the state, primarily the state, has set for us.
Well, thank you for helping clear that up.
Yeah,
because
I hope
from outside the, from organization and even the league, it's just been, well, we hope they're doing what they can to keep them safe, but we really don't know.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, yes, it's an organization, it's a professional sports franchise, but it's still people, still families. People have wives, kids. We are not, and I believe this for everybody else. I'm hoping I can speak for the rest of the league. We would never intentionally put somebody in harm's way, put somebody that's sick, knowingly sick, have them interact with other players, other teams, fans, etc. I mean, to think otherwise is honestly ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of, at least I'm looking at it from, even a fan perspective too. I mean, looking at like some of the games we've seen around the league, knowing like some of the protocols for just fans in the stands, it definitely seems like, at least in some areas, they're not exactly being adhered to for fans. And of course that exposes players, which can then expose, a lot of other people. So, I mean, from that perspective, looking at the fans, that definitely, that part is also very concerning, but that's of course not, as league regulated, that's kind of like stadium by stadium. Sure. I would assume.
Yeah. County by county. I mean, so I live, for those that are watching, I live in Onondaga County, which is really the city of Syracuse. We play in Oneida County, where Utica is. And the two hockey teams, their stadiums have vastly different rules because the stadium in Syracuse is a lot bigger. So if you're having a higher capacity, you are under different protocols than you are for a smaller capacity room. Mm-hmm. And so it's not just the league. I mean, it's county to county, state to state, arena to arena. And, we are, as an organization, as a league, trying to jumble and mix and make sure we're doing as much as possible to keep everybody safe.
Yep. Which is the ultimate goal, that's the aim.
Absolutely.
One of the other opinions we saw kicked around was that despite players testing positive and others potentially being in quarantine, teams need to just, they should have players available to step up and fill those roles and just get those games played. How realistic do you feel that is versus...
So I read this too. I find it very interesting. In a perfect scenario, if you were to take any other professional sports league, you have reserves, you have a AAA, you have the AHL supporting the NHL. Indoor soccer doesn't have that. So yes, we could, and I'm not saying that this is what we are experiencing, but if we were to have half our team tests positive. They are quarantined. We need to fill those roster spots. With who? We're going to fill it with local talented guys who have never played indoor at this pace. What you see at an indoor in your Sunday league games is not the game that we play, every weekend. You're going to fill that. So you're going to put a subpar product on the field with playoff implications, with sponsorships, with potential TV, distribution rights, all of this at risk. And we are going to just throw, Harry, Tim, and Bob out on the field for what? Why not take the proper protocols to make sure everyone's healthy, suspend the game? It's inconvenient for everybody. Don't get me wrong. Like, would we love to be playing Sunday? 100%. Absolutely. But I also don't see the benefit of just putting out players just to play. The fans aren't going to enjoy it. So, one of our biggest fans is the biggest critic because we canceled. But you're going to pay your money. You're going to drive from Syracuse to Utica to watch the same people you'll see at the local indoor center on a Tuesday night play. Like, I don't understand why you'd want to go and see that product. It just, for me, it doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, you don't want to put out a subpar product, a subpar performance if it can be helped. You want to be able to put out something that is, it is what the fan expects. It's what the fans expect. It, what we want to see. We want to see, the guys out there playing their hearts out, and we don't necessarily want to see, like you said, Jimbo and whoever else just that we just essentially pulled off the street to be playing soccer. We can do that, anywhere.
And in a perfect world, we would have untapped resources. We would have an unlimited budget, and I'd sign 30, 35 guys to my roster. Unfortunately, that's not realistic. The league right now caps us at 26 players. And even then, because this is such a minute sport and it's still a grassroots and growing sport, the vast majority of the players that we get are not local. We have half our team that's probably local, and that's tapping the resource within Onondaga and Oneida County. Outside of that, we're flying guys in internationally. We're flying guys in from other states, which means we have to provide housing. There's so many more logistics behind that, and it is not as easy as just calling up the guy, next in line. Now, that being said, there are talks about potentially partnering up an M1 team with an M2 franchise as sort of your feeder system, and then calling those players in. So that could be a potential avenue, but to just suggest, hey, we lose Slav. All right, Greg, go play. Like, come on. It just doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
At least to me, it doesn't. At least to me, it doesn't.
No, I mean, it's, just using that example. I mean, if you take, losing, say, a Slav or, Christian or Bo, even, just like those are some of heavy hitters. And I mean, if you play like, just somebody that you just pulled up from wherever, I mean, that's not gonna look good for the team, and it's not gonna look good to the fans. So yeah, I can definitely see that.
And take into consideration, so everybody's right now is 12 teams. So everybody that's in this league are highly talented soccer players. Mm-hmm. Look at our team alone. So we have 3 or 4 rookies right now that are trial by fire. Like, we've thrown them right to the wolves. We didn't have the numbers. And you can see from game 1 to game 4 the difference in their play, just in development, because indoor, especially at this level, is a very methodical, very different game than what they're adjusted to from outdoor. Mm-hmm. So you're now going to take these guys, who I would take, myself, Ronaldinho, Quentin Swift, and Isak. Those 3 players, unbelievably talented soccer players. All of a sudden now you're going to take players who aren't as talented, who don't know on indoor soccer, and you're going to throw them in the field, put them in front of however many fans. Like, it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think the mind game alone would just...
Yeah, 100%. The great, and now our commissioner, I still call him coach, the great Keith Tozer used to always tell us, like, it'll take you a full year and a half before you are comfortable and understand indoor soccer. And it's just the little idiosyncrasies that you take for granted, the angles of the board, certain positioning, certain runs, certain movements, that it's just a totally different game once you're involved and you're inside it.
Mm-hmm. No, and I see what you're saying by the skill level difference. I mean, we watched in the 1920 season, what happens when you bring an M2 franchise up and play them at the M1 level.
Yep.
By the end of the season, Rochester was looking better, but for a while it was brutal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I would love to have certain protocols in play where if individuals and more than one or two are positive, that we can just substitute a, next man up. But we have to be very realistic with our budget, with players. Obviously, it's not a secret that leagues having visa issues. A lot of our players, because outdoor soccer is growing exponentially in the United States, that gives more opportunities for American-based players, which means we look more for outside players, foreign-based players, and having visa issues, then you struggle. And so I would love to be able to have a 10, 12-man reserve roster, but unfortunately, like San Diego probably could do it because they have an M2 team right in their backyard. They play in the same arena. They play before their games. We don't have that. It's a very fickle situation. And unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of having all these reserves at our disposal.
Yep.
Well, I guess since you brought it up, speaking of the visa issues, we know it's a league-wide issue. We know talented guys, not just here, but guys like Lemos in Milwaukee, Nascimento and France in Baltimore, they're all tied up. Any hope of seeing that in the next month or so getting cleared up, maybe?
There's always hope. So, again, I think almost every team outside of Rochester, when they played, every team has a visa issue, one sort of another. Some obviously have more than others. We have, as a franchise, opted to try to rush the issue. So we give Customs and whoever's desk this fell on 14 days to give us an answer. So we're hoping to have positive news, relatively soon. It's like you said, it's a league-wide issue, but it's a massive issue because there are some individuals. If you take a player like ours, Darren Toby, who has been living here, working here, playing here, has a family, and all of a sudden now is stuck. So it's extremely unfortunate for these guys. I feel more, sorry for themselves and their families than us as a team. But I'm hoping that, some of these can get overturned and reversed relatively quickly.
Yeah, I know that one. I know that one was definitely a big shock when we, saw that, Toby was not able to play this season. I mean,
yep.
We had kind of already been dealing with the Diegues and the Zuniga, the visa issues for, let's be honest, quite a while now.
Yep.
So, I mean, it was kind of like not exactly a surprise to us that, we were still kind of on that bus kind of dealing with that. But I know that one kind of hit, at least I can speak for, I think, this group, that for us, it hit us right out of left field. Like, we were completely surprised, taken aback by that one.
I would say we were more surprised because up until maybe 2 weeks before preseason, he was perfectly okay. And then we get a notice we get an email that his P1 visa has been revoked, and it's leading right up to preseason. So yeah, that one came as a shocker. But unfortunately you got to try to make do. He's been great. He's obviously been patient. And I'm hoping we can get him some good news sooner than later.
Good.
But it definitely sounds like you all are definitely staying on top of it from the sounds of things. I mean, that's,
yeah.
It would make sense. I mean, I couldn't see it, basically sitting on it. So
no. I mean, for all the players, like, even Diegues, he's in Brazil, but he's, this is his income. This is his livelihood. He's itching to come back. We're doing everything we can. Anytime there's a rejection or an RFE asking for more information of why they should get a P1 visa, we provide them, we're on top of it, trying to provide them as much information as possible. It's just, it's apparently a slow process, and it's whenever the individual who has this case decides to look at it and review it. Doesn't seem to really have any rhyme or reason as to why they are accepting some players and then rejecting others. It just, unfortunately, it's kind of a house of cards, and we are very hopeful that we've done everything we can. We've gotten some politicians involved, so we're hoping that things can get overturned relatively quickly.
Good. Brandon, anything specific you'd like to ask before, I don't need to dominate this whole thing.
Hey, I've been putting in my 2 cents. It's fine. No, I think, I mean, that was, the whole league protocols and, just learning that stuff was definitely something that I know you were very much more interested in, Matt. So I don't have anything on that front anyway.
Coach, I'm going to ask you a question that we all asked ourselves earlier in this, and that is, we also put it out as a poll on Twitter, and that was, the first 2 games were very rough. We were fairly vocal, I would say, in our opinions of how they went. These last 2 looked much better, especially the last 6 quarters of it altogether. And the question we posed was, does this mean Utica is back to being the team that we are used to seeing? Or is the fan base kind of been fooled once, coming out after a year off, and the general consensus is let's wait until we see them play against Baltimore or Florida again?
Sure.
So I guess posing it to you, do you feel that the rust has been shaken off at this point, and from here out, it's I'll quote my old English teacher from high school here: all systems go, Moses?
It's a very good question. It's a question that I've been asked on numerous occasions. I think it's several folds. I think one, you can make a lot of excuses, 20 months and rust and referees and COVID and injuries and visas and this, that, and the other. That being said, it has taken some time for some of these guys to get back in the swing of things. This is the first year we had a 3-week preseason. And in those 3 weeks, we cannot duplicate the speed of the game in any of those training sessions. Now, I'll tell you that these guys work their tails off in training, but it is still not as fast, as competitive as it was or is whenever you step onto the field. Did we underperform in the first 2 games? 100%. Did we make a lot of mental miscues? 100%. But that's also things you have to learn in real time and correct, watch film. Do I think we are better off and moving in the right direction? Absolutely. But again, my dog just shut up. But again, we have a couple of young guys who are learning the game on the fly. We had a couple of late signings who are joining the team. Slav to be one who didn't train with us in preseason, then shows up. We had Obasi go out with an injury. So again, it was a perfect storm for a disastrous situation. Do I think we should have been a lot more competitive? Absolutely, 100%. I would have relied a lot more on my veterans and hoped my veterans wouldn't have made some of the silly mistakes in the back, especially to give up easy goals. I think in the first 2 games, we gave up 14 goals. And if you review all 14, I would say 10 of the 14 were mistakes that we created in our own defensive third for the other teams to capitalize. Mm-hmm. Going back to what we talked about earlier, it's 12 teams. And so every team is highly competitive. Right. It's a game of mistakes. It's a game of momentum and a game of mistakes. So if we make these mental, silly mistakes on our own end, good teams are going to pay for it. And we did it against Florida and Baltimore, and they made us pay for it. I think arguably we have the toughest strength of schedule in the league. So there's going to be no easy games. So if these guys aren't playing and firing on all cylinders, we're going to pay. I think they started to clean it up. We broke some things down in video. I do think we will be heading in the right direction. But again, like our next 2 games now with Baltimore canceled, we're playing in Florida twice. It's an unforgiving business. It's an unforgiving season. We're getting guys healthy now. We should have Obasi back. We should have, Slav is getting his legs back under him. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say we're going to go and now go 20-0 in the next 20 games, but
right.
Yeah, we have a legitimate team to make a run at this thing. And we tripped a little bit coming out of the gates, but fortunately it was the first 2 out of 24 games, and we'll be okay. We'll be good.
I think I speak for a few of us here where, in the first 2 games, I think I was definitely very critical of just there not being any drive. Looking, from my perspective, it just seemed like there was no drive behind anyone. There was no urgency. There was no nothing. There was no going to the ball. It was always letting it come to you, not playing the ball. That was probably my personal most critical thing about both of the first games, and part of even Friday, like the first probably quarter and a half was, again, it felt like more of the same. It felt like, okay, we're going down this road again. And then, the second half of Friday, just, they came alive, which of course makes the crowd come alive, which of course feeds back to the players. And I mean, that was the hardest thing, was for us, especially, well, for us, was just, trying to cheer these guys on, trying to, will them forward in like those first couple games. And there was just nothing to cheer. It was it was so difficult. And I mean, Friday night, I've been telling these guys, I'm still getting my voice back from Friday after screaming so much, just because we were so desperate for some life. And they finally, they started to give it to us on Friday, and then Saturday was just a great, to me, it was a great game, just watching the players come alive again. And I mean, even seeing some of the people that we don't normally see score, Pat Thompson, Quentin got to see, we got to see Quentin's goal. We got to see
Isak got his first
goal. Like it was awesome. It was so good to see that, even, being able to see Joey and Slav scoring again when we haven't seen that in ages. It was great. It was revitalizing for a lot of us. And Matt, I'm sorry, I'm probably skipping ahead from what you wanted to talk about. But
no.
This was just my personal feeling from first game to now. And I mean, frankly, it's just been this weekend was just such a breath of fresh air, and it brought just so much, so much joy back to it, and just hope that the team can pull it together. It's still there. The spark is still there. I vividly remember Christian literally just running through a guy, taking the ball back from him, and just running up the field with it. I mean, it just mind-blowing difference from a couple weeks ago to now, and it gives me hope.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So look at if we take the 4 games and just make it into a season. In game 1, the first quarter was back and forth, relatively even. And then after the first quarter, the wheels fell off, and it was a downward spiral. With Baltimore, it was pretty close, back and even until halftime, and then the wheels fell off. Part of it is I can guarantee you that as upset and demoralized as the fans were, those players in the locker room were 10 times worse. Trying to keep their heads up, trying to tell them that, this is part of our development, trying to come back together, trying to, stay positive. The problem that happens is when you play quality teams, and teams that we've done this to other teams as well, as a game goes on and a team is allowed, if we win the ball and we're being high pressed and we have to just dump it to clear our end, they maintain possession, they keep that same group of 5 on, and it just destroys your legs. Mm-hmm. You saw Florida do it to us. You saw Baltimore do it to us. You saw that Harrisburg, the first half was neck and neck, and then all of a sudden we started making, different plays, different passes, maintaining possession, and their legs fell out. And the same thing happened in Saturday's game. So Harrisburg has a legitimate team. Like, they're going to be very good, but they're going through what we went through in the first 2 weeks this past weekend. And, it sucks. This is not how you want to have your home opener and second game at home after 20 months off. Not that it was going to be expected of how the results happened, but we had several chances against Hugo, who stood on his head. We had several chances against William, who stood on his head. And those bounces, if some of those go in, if we don't give up that 1 goal right before halftime against Baltimore and it's 3-1 instead of 3-2, these little shifts in the momentum, they carry a long way, and especially in the guys' heads. So it's it's extremely unfortunate. Would I rather be sitting here at 4-0, 3-1? Absolutely. But do I think we have made that turn and we're making that climb? I do. I absolutely do.
Yeah, that's where we were all in agreement. Is we think we're going the right way. Let's see how they do against a team that's had a few games under them and is already competing at that high level.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And I told them earlier, is because I've talked about it a couple times, I want to go out to the Ontario game on that Tuesday. It's one of my days off. I was ready to book that flight and hotel if the team looked good on Sunday. So now I got to wait another week. So
You do.
I mean,
if we look good that following song, I'm holding you to that, though.
Oh, I will absolutely be there. I'm so excited. Then I got to get in touch with Philly because he promised me Stryker could pick me up at the airport on an ATV. And
then you got to wear the Knights helmet that you have.
If I can get it through security.
On the back of the ATV. If Stryker picks you up, you got to wear that on the back of the ATV.
Okay. I will check a bag just for the Knight helmet.
Pay that extra $50 to get that thing there.
Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, it was a very, very long layoff for Utica. 20 months between games. We know a few guys went on loans, but over that time span, who would you say coming back made the most improvement to their game on their own?
I've been unbelievably impressed with Pat Thompson. He had a bit of a hamstring issue after game one, but just his work rate, his intelligence, more so understanding his role in the midfield and the movement off the ball. He has really, for me, stepped up big time. We knew losing Liam Callahan, who's irreplaceable, was going to be a tough shoes to fill. Knowing Pat, playing with Pat back to the Silver Knight days, we needed another sort of workhorse, if you will, in the midfield. And he has, to date, far and exceeded expectations. Now, I hope if he's listening to this, his job's not done. So he's got a long way to go, but he has definitely stepped up this year for sure for me, at least in my opinion.
I mean, really, the one time we've been able to really see him showcased was, of course, this past weekend, which, I mean, going from Saturday with, 2 goals to his name was we started to see the value that he brings to the team. We as fans, at least, were able to finally start being able to see that, whereas we hadn't been able to see that up until now. So,
sure.
It was, I don't know. I really enjoyed watching him play. I mean, just, the things he could do with it, with the ball and just, the plays he was able to make. I mean, it was great. It was like I said, this weekend was refreshing, plain and simple.
For me, obviously we love the goal production, the assist production. It's his work rate off the ball. It's the tracking runners. It's the movement off the ball to free up other players. Like, he's doing a lot of the dirty work that Liam would always do for us. And I had that expectation for him and knowing him, but him coming in, he's playing top notch right now. And so I think he's going to have a really good season this year.
Yeah, not to toot my own horn, but I believe if we go back to the prediction episode when I asked who was the biggest signing, I might have picked Pat Thompson to replace Liam.
Rubbing it in. I get it.
And don't get me wrong. Losing Liam, Liam's a special player, but
look, we've told him on social media if he ever wants to come out to a game. I can't make a lot of them because of work. We also have an open ticket pretty much all the time across the aisle from us, and he's more than happy to have it.
I hope he takes you up on it. Love to see him. It's been a while.
Never mind. I was going to say something. You might have to cut that out. Sorry.
No,
go ahead. What do you got?
No, I was trying. I could. It literally. I lost it.
So I'd like to make just a statement to clear the air in terms of things that were said online.
Yeah.
So there's stipulations that, one, we put a player knowingly who tested positive, and this player would be Andrew Coughlin, in a game against Baltimore. That couldn't be further from the truth. I have all the test dates. I know when he was symptomatic. I know when he tested positive. There is zero chance that Andrew Coughlin, that either himself or us as an organization knowingly put a player into a game while he was positive with COVID. I want to make sure that's clear. That is, ridiculous to even suggest. A bit upsetting that was even brought up, that, a franchise, any team, but that we played Andrew against Baltimore knowing that he had COVID. That couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, I know I know at least, I know I've seen some of that stuff being called out there. And I mean, of course, when you're lacking when you're lacking the information, when you don't have the full picture, you're going to start making accusations. You're going to start throwing things around, clickbait. For some
Sure.
people, I mean, it's going to be a thing, and unfortunately, sometimes things stick more than they really should. Rumors get legs, and unfortunately, That's just the way it is sometimes.
Yep. No, I agree, and I understand, and I think it's in today's age, it's sort of the way the internet goes. But I wanted to make sure that was clear that was not the case. That we did not, that we as a franchise, nor did Andrew, have any knowledge whatsoever that he had COVID, which he might have or might not have because he was asymptomatic until Thursday, that Thursday after the game. So to suggest that we played him, and for me is ridiculous. But also I wanted to make sure that was clear and out there for the record.
Great, I'm glad to have that out there. It's it's good to clear the air. And clearly, we can see that, once it was known that, he had it, that's why we saw Brian on the field for the games. I mean, that makes sense. It's not. And
truth be told, even before that, those two were going to split games. So I actually asked Andrew which game he would prefer to play in, and he wanted to play in Harrisburg due to their field, due to their boards, their glass is lower. He felt more comfortable because he's experienced it more than Brian has. So he stepped aside and was going to give Brian the home game, which, I take my hat off to him. And then this happened. So that's why you didn't see Andrew. But even without that happening, Brian would have been in goal that Friday night anyways. People don't know that. Again, I understand. It's not common knowledge that we are going to put out there and share. But Brian would have been in goal Friday night regardless. And then once we did find out about Andrew and he tested positive, obviously we isolated him, quarantined him, and he was away from the team.
Well, I guess it's good we bring up Wilkin because he had a fantastic performance in both games over the weekend.
You stole my segue.
Really? I don't have one around here to ride.
Well, I mean, I can't see you right now anyway, so.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I can pull that back up. Kate's gone back upstairs.
But yeah, I was. Sorry, go ahead, Coach.
No, please, go ahead.
I was just going to say, watching again, like everyone else, watching Brian was just, it was phenomenal. He played one heck of a game both days. I mean, he was on top of it. Unfortunately, some of those breakaways on Friday, going one-on-one, being able to, even just knock it away, as long as it didn't go in, the fans were really behind him. I know at the end of the game, at least 212, we were chanting "Thank you, Brian," because of his performance. I felt he did really well on Friday. I mean, so did the rest of the team, but I felt he put an exceptional performance, which is why I believe he got Defender of the Week or something along those lines. That accolade, which I felt was well deserved based on what he did over the weekend. Phenomenal performance by him both on Friday and on Saturday. He was just a joy to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Friday night especially, he single-handedly kept us in that game. So there was a couple of breakaways. Michael Cunningham, specifically in the third, it's 1v1, and he takes it point blank and makes a great save. And that alone gives the guys confidence. Brian had an amazing weekend. He took unbelievable advantage of the opportunity that he had, and to his credit, and rightfully so, he got the MASL Defensive Player of the Week. I, for the life of me, and I've said this since I was a player, I don't understand why people want to be an indoor soccer goalie. These guys are getting teed off on from 2 feet away, just getting blasted in the face, have complete disregard for their body. They don't. This guy took so much punishment this weekend. But yeah,
I was gonna say he did take one to the face.
100%.
Yeah.
And believe me, if I didn't tell you that, I was quite nervous because I was like, who are we putting in goal now? But he stood on his head. He played absolutely amazing, and he deserves all the credit for these 2 wins and the accolade that he got. But we wouldn't be 2-2 without Wilkin between the posts right now. Not to say that Andrew couldn't play or hasn't, but obviously he wasn't in goal. So Brian played amazing, no question.
All right, Wilkin's out. Timmy, you're going in goal.
He'd do it without a second thought.
He would, and that's it. I'm just happy that didn't happen.
No, definitely a fantastic performance. Like I said, it was nice. It puts a lot of confidence from the players, from the team and the fans, that, okay, if Andrew's out for whatever reason, we have a capable goalie that can, help keep the team from, getting scored on 10, 20 times in a game or something. So, it definitely instills a lot of confidence. And, I know some people write off like Harrisburg, because they have all these rookies and everything. A lot of people, I'm sure that there's some comparisons out there of, Harrisburg comparing them to like Rochester. But the way I see it, and I said this earlier, is that you never underestimate a team. You can lose to anyone. You can win against it.
Yep.
You can typically win against anyone, but you can lose against anyone too. And so, in my mind, you never underestimate a team, and you always treat them as if they are the A1 top tier team that you need to bring your absolute A game to every single time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like to start with, it's a gift and a curse. It's great that we have two very capable goalies. It makes my job more difficult because I have to pick one, but that's what I want. I would rather have these players making my job difficult to figure out the lineup to put out on the field than me scratching my head like, oh no, like who am I going to put in a defense? Who am I going to? I much prefer this alternative. So I love the fact that we have two extremely talented goalkeepers that either one that's between the posts, guys have confidence they're going to go out there and play. And that goes for any position. And then in terms of Harrisburg, I wouldn't go as far as comparing them to quote unquote Rochester, but they do have some inexperienced players. They also have a lot of talented players. Look at Harrisburg year before COVID, and they tripped over the gates a little bit in the beginning, and then they were the hottest team going into the playoffs before we got shut down. So they have a very talented team. Patty's a very good coach. I think they're going to be just fine. I do think we capitalized a little bit on their first two games, just as Florida and Baltimore did to us. But by no means are they a walkthrough. Every game in this, even right now, Dallas is struggling. They have a recent coaching change. They have some talented players. I mean, we went after one of them in the offseason, and every team in this league is legitimate. And to your point, you have to play. Any given Sunday for us, because we play on Sundays, anything can happen, and it's a game of mistakes. And if you don't show up with your A game, you're going to get slapped around.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we have definitely seen that, and we have definitely paid for that.
That's true. That's 100% true.
Matt, what else? You have anything?
Let's go with two more things, then we'll wrap it up. We don't want to keep you too long.
No problem.
One will be fun, one will be serious, and we'll start with the serious one, which is you mentioned the any given Sunday, and one of the criticisms we've seen against Utica is I'm going to paraphrase one of the social media posts that I read, and it was they only play teams at 2:00 on Sunday after they played the night before, so they're playing them tired.
You want my take on that?
Yeah, please.
I think that's a lot of hogwash. I think that's a lot of nonsense. Yes, that seems to be we made a thing out of Soccer Sunday in Utica. That being said, there's a certain mentality when you're playing, and I'm sure other sports can speak to the same. So during my tenure, we would play quite often 3-3, 3 games in 3 days in 3 different cities. And you saw it, I think it was year one, maybe. We played in St. Louis, then in Milwaukee. So we were in St. Louis Friday night, Milwaukee at noon, St. Louis Sunday. So we beat St. Louis Friday night. We drive through the night to Milwaukee. We get shut out in Milwaukee. We drive back to St. Louis, and then we beat St. Louis. This idea that, yes, they traveled 5 hours through the night. They should be heavy legs, tired, we're fresh. I can make an argument for both sides. Part of this is when you make those back-to-back trips, like you're solely focused on the game. You don't have other outside distractions. Your adrenaline's still rolling. Now, I would assume Monday, Tuesday, those players crashed. They were exhausted. They were toast, done. But like playing at home Saturday night, getting in the van, driving up, playing early the next day, like you are still tuned in. You haven't checked out. You're still focused on the game. Adrenaline's pumping, and you're almost ready to go. Whereas it can be a gift to be home, rested, relaxed, etc., but also could be a curse because you're not tuned in. You're at home with family. You're going out to dinner with friends. You have all these distractions, and you show up to the game, and a team is still rolling from the night before. It should be like on just looking at it for face value, it should be a massive advantage, but it can work against you as well. I've seen it go both ways. I've seen teams play lights out the night before and then are so exhausted or beat up that they don't even bother showing up the next day. And I've seen teams get blown out the first night and then are so pissed off and adrenaline pumping that they come in and wax the team on, that second day. So it can go both ways. For me as an athlete, like it didn't bother me just because you're always tuned in, the adrenaline's still pumping. Now, again, if we were to play a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or a Saturday, Sunday, that Monday and Tuesday, I'm exhausted. I'm toast. I got nothing. But, as an athlete and playing, and I don't think I think it's more of a mind game and a mindset than anything.
And that was kind of, one of the things that when we've had this discussion on the podcast before. And I mean, I was kind of saying, that I feel like there's 4 different outcomes from them another team having a game the night before, which of course is 2 for win, 2 for loss. So, I mean, there's 2 scenarios. If they win, they're either going to come in overconfident or they're going to come in hungry for that second win. If they lose, they're either going to be defeated when they come in and just get, destroyed, or they're going to come in even more hungry than before and play even harder. And I mean, tiredness for me doesn't even come into the equation. It's one or the other. I mean, granted, I believe when Baltimore played Milwaukee and went into overtime, I was hopeful that because of the extra time that they had to play, they were going to come in.
So was I.
A little bit tired. And unfortunately, that was not the case. They came in just as hungry as they were the night before.
And again, this is not an excuse on why we lost. Like, I'm not blaming that, whatever. To Baltimore's credit, it was very competitive in the first half. And then they sat and their experience took over in the second half. They milked the clock. They knew what they were doing. They were going after inexperienced players, picking passes off. And that, that's the sign of an experienced team. And they took advantage of it. I'm by no means saying, we should have lost because they played the night before by any means. But I don't think it's an excuse to say, oh, they played the night before, so you must win. For me, that doesn't come into play.
Right.
Okay. And I guess we'll call it the fun one because we've talked about the schedule on the podcast. You mentioned it earlier. You're going all around the country. What city are you most excited to visit?
Well, to be fair, like right now, we're having a relatively mild winter. Usually this time of the year, we are buried with snow. So initially when the schedule came out, I was like, we're going to be going back to back in Florida. Like, I'm excited. First weekend in January, but it's not even that bad out. I love, to be honest with you, I love playing in Baltimore. I love those fans. Same as other teams coming to Utica to hear fans, to get the heckling. Like, it's just, it gets your blood going. It's adrenaline. San Diego is going to be a great place to play. Ontario, I've never played in Ontario, so I'm excited to see that. Anytime you play in Milwaukee, St. Louis, really any of these games. The Harrisburg fans are great. The arena, the size of the arena is amazing. I'm still not a big fan of their turf. But the atmosphere there this past weekend compared to playing at the farm show next door where it's a lot larger. And so therefore the noise gets sort of drowned out because of their capacity. The fans were great Saturday night. So really, all the road games are exciting to play and have their own little advantages and things you look forward to.
Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely. I still would rather play at home, and not just because it's home. The atmosphere at the Odd is second to none in indoor soccer. I mean, yes, it's our home, but it is everybody that comes and plays here. I mean, it's just a different animal. It is so much fun to play at the Odd.
Yeah, and obviously we haven't been as many places as you guys have playing, but from the 3 we've been to, when Kate and I were in Baltimore last year, or 2 years ago, we must have caught them on a bad night because there was like 1,500 to 2,000 fans.
Yeah.
I know when Brandon, Michelle, and I came down to Harrisburg, that empty feeling in that larger arena, you definitely feel it. Yep. And then the other place was Rochester, which I love the Rock Dome. Been there for a concert. Great little venue. Utica fans made the trip, and pretty much almost 60-40 Utica fans in there.
Yeah, and the lighting there was strange because the way it was set up, it was dark in the corners. Like it was just a strange setup. It was weird to get used to playing there. But again, you got to work with what you got, and you got to make do. So.
Yep.
No.
Hoping to make a trip somewhere at some point, at least from my perspective. But I don't know. I don't know when we're going to be able. When me and Michelle and I will be able to do anything, but. I'd love to make another road trip again sometime. I know the Harrisburg trip was a lot of fun. The three of us drove down and it was a blast. And I mean, just kind of, I know that we all felt that at one point we were kind of louder than everyone else in there. But again, that could have just been because of how big and empty it was. Like the sound reverberates. And I mean, I remember back then we were cheering like crazy, and it was a fun experience being somewhere else, but it's also a little bit daunting when you know that you're the minority in a arena. So it's a little bit scary.
Sure. I mean, so what was interesting is that so most teams will have like pregame youth tournaments, and there was one in Harrisburg this past weekend, and there was a team out of Utica that played, and they stuck around. They were chanting louder the entire game. There was a small little section off to the corner. It was unbelievable. I mean, when an away team travels well, we'll get a bunch of Baltimore fans that come up. Harrisburg will send up some fans. Obviously, Rochester would, and it's a little bit more challenging when you have, Milwaukee and St. Louis and stuff like that. But when you're able to send like a cargo van worth of fans to an away game, and you have that little tiny support section, it makes all the difference in the world. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing that sometimes I wish, like even if not that I'm calling them out or anything like that, it would be awesome to someday see like Utica, have some sort of commissioned thing where, hey, people can buy tickets essentially to ride a bus down to an away game. And then, I'd be willing to pay for that for sure. Like I would love to see that. Just, that was just my random idea I threw out there. So
noted. You
just want to drink at the game without having to worry about driving back.
Yes.
That's also true
too.
Well, thank you for joining us, taking the time to clear some things up, and
my pleasure.
Definitely clarify what the protocols are, because we've been sitting here in the dark, and it's nice to have some light shown on.
And I think over the next week or so, within the next coming days, you'll see stricter, further protocols taken. I'm obviously not privy to the owners meeting the commissioners and all that stuff, but I've caught wind of certain things, and I think they are going to be a little bit more diligent so that we don't have to postpone games and cancel games, et cetera. And again, it's in the best interest of the players, the league. Nobody wants to cancel games. Nobody wants to postpone games. But as things are developing, it's unfortunate, but we're trying to deal with it the best we can, just like everybody else. But I do think you'll see some updated protocols, if you will, in the upcoming days.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. Got to keep an eye out for them.
Absolutely.
Well, Coach, once again, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Have a wonderful holidays, whatever you're celebrating.
Happy holidays.
Good luck in Florida on the 2nd and the 9th, and we look forward to seeing you in Utica on the 16th.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's always a pleasure. Anytime. Love to come back, and have a great holiday.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yes. Anytime.
Matt, were you just about to end?
I was just going to say, and to our listeners, the same goes out to you.
I was just going to say, any closing remarks, anything like that? Anything you want to throw out there? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
From me or from Matt?
From you, Coach. Sorry.
No. Happy holidays. From everybody, from the entire Utica City franchise. Happy holidays. Thank you guys for all your support. We obviously wouldn't be doing what we do if it wasn't for you guys. So, love all of you, and looking forward to bringing some more W's and hopefully a Ron Newman Cup back to Utica.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. Again, thank you. Enjoy your night. And to those listening, you're used to this by now. Give a listen to the outro for our plugs. And until next time, thanks for listening.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening to the Keeper's Corner podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to us so you never miss an episode. If that podcast app also has reviews, be sure to leave us 5 stars to let us know how we're doing and reach a larger audience. It really helps us out. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Keeper Corners Pod. And you can always find us there talking UCFC soccer. Thanks again for the support. It's truly appreciated. One last thing. Go Utica.